It's the 20th of April, middle of the day. We've just come down to the estate rifle range. Obviously with this series, you guys will realise that it's supported by different brands, and like all things, if you're a professional in an industry, you sort of, like to use the best for various reasons, generally because it doesn't let you down. Obviously we've got the Harkeela clothing, supported by Blaser rifles with the R8. And you'll notice that there's no scope on here. That's because from now on the series is going to be supported by Swarovski optics. So we've got a new scope to put on the rifle. So I thought it was a good opportunity to show you guys how I put a scope on a rifle. I'm not saying it's necessarily 100% the correct way, but that's how I do it. So if you ever have to, it gives you an idea of how to do it. So then we'll get it zeroed in on the target, and then we'll go heading out stalking later on. So we come down to the targets here. So that was 100 metres we were shooting. This was my first shot, having bore sighted it very roughly with my eye through the barrel. So obviously aiming roughly in the middle, and the bullets hit a little bit low and a little bit right. I think if I remember rightly, I went up 6 clicks and left 6 clicks. So if you look on the yellow disc, obviously it's okay for windage for left and right. It's sort of pretty much dead centre, but a little bit low. And I think I came up 3 clicks then, aiming at this little white dot at 6 o'clock, not 12 o'clock. So 3 shots on that. Not a fantastic group. If I made a bit more of an effort, maybe tighten it up a little bit, but that's confirmed that it's pretty much spot on zero and more than good enough to go and do some shooting. Hopefully this afternoon we'll find something to have a go at. It's pretty early still. It is 10 to 4 in the afternoon. Nice afternoon. So hopefully there'll be a few deer out in the fields. Just have a little look around the estate and see what we can see, and maybe that will help us decide we're going to come stalking this afternoon. Yeah, so we've just got a good mature roe doe just popped up in the wheat over there. So it might be the mother of a pair of those kids that we just saw a minute ago. But they're obviously quite well pregnant now, because they're going to have their kids in sort of middle of May, end of May again. So sometimes the does just go off on their own and have a little bit of mum time and just keep feeding. So there's a couple of twin bucks, so both the same age. You see one of them's got different shaped antlers to the other. There's not a lot to choose between those two. Neither of them are particularly good, but probably the one with the shorter antlers might be the one to take. So we've got 4 roe deer on the left, just through the hedge. Looks like 3 does and a buck, and it's a buck that I wouldn't mind trying to get, to be honest. He's got quite short, stubby antlers for his age, so it'd be a good cull one. So the wind is now blowing from us in the vehicle towards them, so we're going to have to come right round the back of the trees in the far distance and see if we can get onto them somehow. The problem is we've got a lot of open field to get across. So we've seen those 4 roe deer. One of them's a cull buck that I quite like to get. So we've just driven right round the fields here. I'm going to head out along a hedgerow behind me through this old tree belt and see if we can get a look and see where they are. We just have to be a little bit careful because the ground where they are is on top of a little bit of a rise, what we call a hill round here, which is obviously not much of a hill for where you guys are. But we'll head over there, have a look, see what the backstop's like, and then make a plan once we've seen them again. Can't see the road. Can't see the road we're looking for at all. They might have sort of moved through the hedge a little bit, or maybe pulled back into the wood, the top of the wood there. We'll just keep working down and come round. There is a little drop the other side of this field, so maybe they've gone down into there. Just coming down the back of this hedge to keep out of view of those row are in the next field. There's a little muntjac buck. He's just sat down about 80 metres in front of us. So we'll just sneak down a little bit further and see if we get a shot on that. He might have just stood up. Yeah, he has just stood up. Yeah, he's in the edge here. Just move very slowly. He's away now. So we've just come down to the end of the hedge. So the track that we drove along when we saw the 4 row deer is just behind me, and the 4 row were just on the top of the brow of this little ridge here, but they're obviously not there now, so they've either gone back towards the big wood, or there is an old pit in this field behind me. They might have crossed through the hedge and gone to sit in that pit, so we'll go and have a look over there first, just to see if we get lucky, and then we can come round and just have a look over the brow of the hill there, see if they're up against the big wood. It's our little muntjac friend that we just bumped off of this hedgerow. He obviously ran down the hedge, and he's now coming back towards where we bumped him from, so we'll just get tucked in on the end of the hedge here and see if it comes right past us, so we've got a safe shot behind. Okay. Just hang over my right shoulder, just very slowly. Keep still, keep still. See it? You want it? He's done. So just got set up. The wind is unfortunately sort of blowing from behind me but quartering across a little bit, so he didn't come as far out from the edge of this hedge as I hoped he was going to. So there was he was stood there looking at us, and there was a sort of few inch gap between some hazel twigs in the hedge, so just managed to drop the sticks down a bit, had the scope on quite a low magnification so I could see that the bullet was going to go between the twigs, and managed to get a shot on him as he was sort of quartering onto us a little bit. So that's good. That was the one that was sat over here. Unfortunately, as Adam came out behind me to try and get some footage of me taking a shot on it in the hedge, it ran off. So looks like we've been lucky there, or Adam has anyway. So actually turned out to be a slightly older buck than I thought, so it's like a young middle-aged buck really. Obviously it was quartering onto us, so I've shot it sort of on the front of the shoulder. It's come out sort of liver on the other side. Yeah, he's been in a few fights. He's got a big scar on his neck, little rip in his ear, and you can see on his pedicles here the skin is just starting to swell up, and obviously in the next few weeks that would then pop his antlers off and he starts to grow his new set. Muntjac, they tend to cast their antlers sort of end of April, start of May, and then they'll be fully grown back in hard antler again by sort of middle to end of August. So yeah, good sized buck. It's obviously starting to molt like the roe, get rid of his winter coat. So it's a good start. We'll keep going, see if we can find those roes still, or we'll head somewhere else, find some other roe hopefully. We've just had a look along the top side of the wood there. We can't see those roe, so they've either run back in the wood or they might have come through the hedge here and just gone out. There's an old clay pit in the middle of the field here, so we'll just go out slowly, just have a look into that. Sometimes they go out and sit in there, get away from the wind. Worth a try, and if there's nothing there then we'll get that muntjac back to the truck and go and look somewhere else. So we just snuck across the plastic carrots in one of the tractor wheelings and just crept over the edge of this pit behind us. Couldn't see anything, so started moving to the right just to have a look around the back of this big hawthorn, and would you believe it, I don't know if it's the buck we want, but it wasn't a great buck anyway. Was obviously sitting on the bank behind this hawthorn, so it clocked us, jumped up, ran out. I gave it a couple of barks, ran along. I just kept barking at it, and obviously it was curiosity got the better of it, and it stopped, and thought Adam was on it, so I took the shot, and well, you guys will find out if he was on it or not, or you know already. So anyway, but he's run 50-60 metres. We'll go and have a look and see what we've got. So you can see on the ground here where this it scuffed its hooves in. This is where it stood when I shot it. Obviously there's quite a strong wind, so that's blown any hair away from the site anyway, but we can see a good blood trail going across the plastic there, so obviously we can see it. But like we said in the Chinese water deer one, if you can always go to the shot site and then look for any evidence, follow any blood trails, and then you're just educating yourself all the time for, you know, the day when you actually need to follow a blood trail for real. It just makes it a lot easier. I don't think this is the buck that we saw from the vehicle originally, purely because it was on its own in that pit, and also the buck we were after has got two short antlers rather than this one's longer than the other. It looks like this one was broken off when it was in velvet, and it's just started to sort of grow to heel over, and then it's obviously finished growing. So we've got a reasonably mature buck. 4-pointer, if this one hadn't broken off. It's never going to get any better than this, really. So it's a good one to take out. You can see it's still got its winter coat, just starting to lose it on the neck. That's where they tend to lose it first. And we stopped him with a few barks, shot him a little bit low through the shoulder, just because a bit of a rush shot, just pushed forward a little bit as I shot. But yeah, good heart shot, and it's run 40-50 metres and gone down, so good one to take out. Hopefully there'll be a better younger one to come through, and so we've got 2 down within 200 metres of each other. So it's good afternoon, 6:10. We're just on top of the reservoir looking down on a group of red stags. You can see in the group there's a few that have got quite a lot of antler growth already. They're obviously late middle-aged ones, and then the ones which haven't got any visible antler growth yet, they're sort of probably 2-year-olds. And then panning across to the left, there's a group of 6 roe, 4 does and 2 bucks. One sort of good mature buck with 6-point antlers, and a younger buck with just 2 long spikes, so he might be a possible one to take out at some point as well. So there we go, back to the larder. I've got these 2 sorted out. That roebuck was 16.5 kilos and the muntjac was 11.5 kilos. So probably about roughly the same age animal. So it just shows you that like a big muntjac buck carcass isn't a lot lighter than a roe in these parts of the country anyway. Remember, our roe are a bit smaller than other parts of the UK. On the way back we saw 6 more roe, a little group of stags, and we had a look back across for some of those roe that we saw early on when we were driving around this afternoon, but they weren't there. And to be honest, 2's enough for the evening. It's the start of the roebuck season still, so we've got to leave some cold bucks for our paying clients. So yeah, slightly early finish, and we'll be back next month to do it all again on something else.